Part 1. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 1. Chapter 1 Start over. Xiao Xiao, Shitu, sit down, Dad will tell you something. Zhang Lishi sat at the round table, and Fan Qiuying handed over the box containing tobacco leaves and the newspaper. I also carried a sewing basket. Sitting in front of the table, I picked up the soles of my shoes. Every household's shoes were made by themselves, and no woman had any free time. There is always work on hand. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Zhang Shitu sat at the table. They have 4 brothers and sisters. The upper 2 sisters are Zhang Yu and Zhang Xian, the middle brother is Zhang Shitu, and the younger daughter is Zhang Xiaoxiao. Sister Zhang Yu was one of the first batch of educated youths to respond to the country's call to go to the countryside and went directly to Baidawang. The second sister, Zhang Xian, was in poor health and replaced her mother as a female worker in a textile factory. 3 years ago, I also got married to Qin Dazhuang, a worker in a machinery factory. The couple both work dual jobs. The only brothers left in the family are Zhang Xiaoxiao and Zhang Shitu. Dad, what's going on? You're so serious, why don't I feel good? Zhang Shitu is simple and honest by nature, but he is also active and cheerful. He is a straight-tempered person. It's been a long time since I've seen third brother Zhang Xiaoxiao like this. Zhang Lishi took the newspaper and gave Zhang a stone. You talk nonsense and you are always so irritable. Tell me, when will you be calmer? Look, your sister is better than you. In fact, Zhang Lishi is just like his name, he is really honest. A truly honest man. Dad, it hurts. Am I your biological child? No wonder everyone loves the youngest. I am not your biological child. Be careful and beat me, stupid. I am not as smart as my sister in the first place. After I become stupid, I can't even find my wife. Let's see if you are anxious in the future. While pretending to be confused and shouting about pain, he actually jumped around the round table. Zhang Lishi is an honest man, and he was very happy when he heard this. Sit down for me. Don't tell me that you were picked up by me and your mother from the garbage heap. Your sister is our biological child. Let's see if I don't beat you to death. You dare to talk nonsense. Now you are getting more and more angry. The more you talk, the more you talk. Pointing to the chair, Zhang Shitu sat down obediently. Hands up in surrender. Okay, you are so awesome, I have become a pickup. Oh, Mom, who do you think my biological parents are? Are they those big cotters or something? If so, will I be like this? If you can benefit from it, at least you can arrange a job, right? Mom, do you have any leftovers from my childhood? That is the evidence to find my biological parents. Zhang Shitu fell into an uncontrollable fantasy. Fan Qiuying was so happy that she pressed the tip of the needle in her hair, then continued to hold the thimble to the sole of her shoe, and said with a smile, You don't have that fate. I heard that when I picked you up, you looked like the man who took out the shit. My wife seems to have lost a baby. You can ask her if she can force him to take out the excrement instead. Xiaohi's words made Zhang Shitu's face fall. Mom, just bully me. How about bullying your son with my father? Xiao Xiao, let's ignore them. This is Leijiang Xiao Xiao coming to his camp. Zhang Xiaoxiao's eyes are moist. This happy family is the Zhang family that has raised her for 18 years, and it is also the Zhang family that has her best interests at heart. Zhang Lishi noticed at a glance that his daughter's eyes were red and was startled. What's going on? Girl, don't drop the golden beans. If you tell me anything, your parents will make the decision for you. Say, Shitu, are you bullying your sister again? I think you have itchy skin. You haven't been awake for 3 days. Put on the roof, Mother Hummer, bring me my bamboo whip. If I don't teach this a lesson, he will rebel. Zhang Shitu was dumbfounded. As I approached my sister, my eyes were really red, and the tears were like pearls, crystal clear and hanging on my face. Jiang Shitu's heart skipped a beat. What an injustice! How could he bully his sister? Jiang Xiaoxiao has already stood up in a hurry. He stopped Jiang Lishi, who looked angry. Dad, it's none of my brother's business, he didn't bully me. Jiang honestly didn't believe that they were holding his little girl in the palm of their hands for fear of falling, and holding it in their mouths for fear of melting. Jiang Lishi only had a daughter when he was 35 years old. He got a daughter when he was old. Jiang Lishi loved his daughter more than any other child in the family. Don't protect your brother. It must be him who has been neglecting his duties for a day. I have to teach him a lesson. You kid, you don't know how to complain when you are bullied. You have been soft-tempered since you were a child. How can you do this? Xiao Xiao, you are such a kid. Your brother always bullies you, and you always protect him. With your temper, what will you do if you go out in the future? Let me tell you, don't protect your brother. Your father said that's right, this boy will go to Fangjiahua if he doesn't fight for a day. Your brother needs to take care of him. Fan Qiuying actually went through their bamboo whip. Jiang Shitu is about to cry but has no tears. These are his biological parents. Why do you blame him so hard? He is so unjust. This is even more unjust than Doi. Mom and Dad, do you think it will snow outside now? Okay, don't talk nonsense there and divert your attention. Why is it snowing outside? What month is this? Jiang Lishi had already snatched the bamboo whip from his wife's hand. Jiang Xiaoxiao hurriedly stopped Jiang Lishi. Dad, listen to me first, it really has nothing to do with my brother. I was just sitting there thinking of a plot in the novel, so I shed tears. It really has nothing to do with my brother. Before her biological parents found her, her parents actually thought she was their biological daughter. She is the youngest girl in the family, so she is naturally loved by her parents like a darling. Who would have thought that his daughter was the wrong child? Really? Jiang Lishi was holding the bamboo whip, and Jiang Xiaoxiao was still holding onto it, so he asked his daughter suspiciously. Jiang Xiaoxiao nodded vigorously. Jiang's parents and all Jiang Jiang's relatives were sincere to her, and their love was never compromised in any way. This is her real family. But in her last life, she mistakenly regarded her adoptive parents, sisters, and brothers who really cared about her as outsiders, and she was obsessed with cultivating a relationship with her biological parents. I only think that those are my parents. Have done so many wrong things. Her adoptive parents were so worried about her. It also caused the Jiang family to almost be destroyed. Never in her life, she would never let history repeat itself. She is the daughter of the Jiang family. She will be the daughter of the Jiang family for the rest of her life. She will pay back what is owed to her. She will definitely repay well what she has paid for her. This time she will never let herself go blind. It will not break the hearts of family members. Jiang Shitu spread his hands happily. Look. Dad, what do I say? Just say that I didn't bully my sister. You still don't believe me. Jiang Lishi put down his bamboo whip and said, okay, since there's nothing wrong, you two sit down. This matter is related to the future of both of you, so Dad called you over this time, in front of you. Please explain this matter clearly to me. What should you do together? Dad, I respect your opinions. A new book has been released, please support me. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. I'm going. Dad, what's the matter, tell me quickly. Jiang Shitu sat down nonchalantly. Jiang Xiaoxiao was also sitting next to his eldest brother. She knows what it is. This family conversation happened in my previous life. That is the most serious situation faced by the family. One of their children must go to the countryside. The only thing the father can do is let them choose who goes. Of course, the third brother in his previous life, Zhang Shitu, later changed his name to Zhang Lei. In order to prevent his younger sister from suffering, he volunteered to go to the countryside. Then he stayed in that place for the rest of his life and devoted himself heroically to that land. Her father originally planned to let her take his place and work in the textile factory. As a result, her mother came to visit her. Various reasons mean that Zhang Lishi and his wife carried the wrong child in order to make their child happy. Two girls get to the bottom of it. It was Zhang Lishi and his wife who did this because of their calculation. She really believed it? But I don't even think about it. If this is the case, why doesn't her mother feel so sorry for her and not send Fang Xiaowai back to the Zhang family? Instead, he wanted to keep Fang Xiaowai and take care of her as his biological child, and also wanted her, his biological daughter, to go to the countryside instead of his eldest brother. Every advantage was taken by the Fang family. The most important thing is that even though his biological daughter has not enjoyed any blessings, she was actually told by her biological mother that she foolishly thought that she could finally build a deep relationship with her eldest brother and the others. The party who should compensate, isn't it the Fang's family who should compensate her? Why should she compensate those who please the Fang family? In any case, my mind was not very clear in my previous life. Zhang Xiaoxiao felt that there was a high probability that he was thinking of all the Zhang family members as with ulterior motives. He was being framed, so he had no doubts about his biological parents. Actually, think about it, what did the so-called biological parents do to make her feel that she is her biological child? She is worse than an adopted daughter. The reason why I was so miserable in my last life is that I am actually very ambitious and trust others easily. The Zhang family's parents were very kind to me. Even though they knew she was not their biological child, her parents still tried hard to give her a good living environment. Want to protect her. It's a pity that she has always been blind. Dad, tell me. Zhang Lishi was very pleased. That's it, the street has announced that one of our children must go to the countryside to jump in the queue. You two siblings must go to one of them. What your mother and I mean is. Of course I'm going. With my small body, I'm going to the countryside. Why don't I cry to death? I'm going. Dad, don't say it. I'm a man. If something like this happens at home, of course I'm going to go. Zhang Shitu spoke automatically before his father could continue. Same as in the previous life. Zhang Shitu wanted to protect his sister. Zhang Xiaoxiao's eyes were moist. Her lovely family. When Fan Qiuying heard this, she smiled with satisfaction. It's true for your dad too. You still need to ask about this kind of thing. I just said Shitu is the brother, so Shitu should go. He's a little girl. You let her, she can go to the countryside to farm. Your dad still wants to ask what you mean, am I right? Press the thimble firmly against the nose of the needle and pull out the needle thread from the other end. Hey, I just don't want the children to complain. Since you said so, Shitu, then you go. You are an older brother, so it's appropriate for you to go. Dad is not partial. Your sister is not strong. If she goes, I'm afraid. Zhang Lishi was not surprised. Zhang Shitu was very sensible. This child always protected his sister, and this time was no exception. No, Dad, Mom, third brother, I'll go. Zhang Xiaoxiao interrupted Zhang Lishi's words loudly. The whole family was silent. Xiaoxiao, what are you arguing about? This is going to the countryside, not the fun outings you usually take part in. But you have to do farm work, you better forget it. You won't be able to find your home if you cry. Man, people in that place won't treat you as a family member, so don't think about it. Zhang Shitu looked down on others. He really thought that his sister was out of luck. He probably thought that going to the countryside was just to eat, drink and have fun. This little girl doesn't know what it means to go to the countryside. Stop messing around, Xiao Xiao, your brother is going and you stay at home. Zhang Lishi agreed with his son. Fan Qiuying also advised, Xiao Xiao, stay with mom at home. We won't go to the countryside, and we won't suffer that kind of hardship. Zhang Xiaoxin felt a pain in his heart. Yes, my mother's words don't feel biased at all. But it may not be that he is partial to her. She has gone away and suffered. Third brother, won't it not be miserable after she goes away? It's just that they all feel that she is the youngest daughter in the family and should not suffer. Parents, brothers, and sisters tried their best to protect her, but a white-eyed wolf emerged from the protection. How blind has she been in her entire life? You would think that such parents would be rich-minded who want to send their children to other people's homes and take advantage of them. Even if her parents love her as if they are eyes, do they still need her to go back and suffer? The Fang family has always favored sons over daughters, so how could she have a good life if she returned to the Fang family? She takes herself too seriously. The Fang family was a key target of attack because of their dark background as capitalists. If she had really grown up in the Fang family, she would have been sent to the countryside long ago. Can you still enjoy a good life here? Mom, Dad, third brother, I told you I was going to the countryside. Don't think I'm fooling around. I know what it means to go to the countryside. I want to go. I'm 18 years old and I'm no longer a child. I don't want to go to the countryside at home. Go to school. It's not like I just have to eat at home. I can work hard there. Besides, as I said, the farm I went to this time pays me wages based on centimeters and real wages. I want to go to work. Silly girl, have your parents ever disliked you for being a freeloader? Besides, you want to work, and your dad is about to retire. If you can't do it then, you can take your dad's job and go to work. Working in a factory is much better than working on a farm. Don't be impatient. Third brother is going to the farm. Third brother is so strong that he can suffer more than you. You know you can't just eat for free. Third brother also studies like you, and third brother also has to work. Zhang Shita persuaded his sister bitterly, fearing that her sister would really go to the countryside without opening her eyes. Third brother, don't think I don't know. Dad's job is to drive a truck. If you take over the shift, you should go. The most I go to is a female textile worker in the workshop. Besides, there may not be a place for me. Who can? I don't know that the textile factory is a carrot and a pit. If I go there, someone will have to give up my seat. Who can be willing in their heart? When our dad offends someone, they won't necessarily gossip. Rather than that, it's better for me to go to the farm and you to take over the job, so that my parents' life won't be difficult. You all can rest assured. I know what I am going to do when I go to the countryside, and several of my little sisters are going with me. We have agreed not to be separated together. Parents, just agree. For a while, everyone in the family thought that their little girl was acting out of impulse again. Who doesn't know that Zhang Xiaoxiu's little sisters are also at home and going to the countryside? His family wants to give birth to someone, and other people's families also have to give birth to others. I don't even know how to persuade him. My daughter has such a stubborn temper. When you say nothing, you will cry like hare. No one in the family can afford to offend him. But so be it. Parents feel uncomfortable. This child is just spoiled by them and has no idea how difficult the world is. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Why does that woman look exactly like my mother? Zhang Xiaoxiao has been making a lot of noise for a week. Eventually they went on a hunger strike. In fact, my family is not rich either. There is just enough food to eat. In fact, every household has water and water. Their family only gave Zhang Xiaoxiao a little thick food, which was considered a good treatment. It's a pity that Zhang Xiaoxiao doesn't cherish it. Looking at the untouched white porridge in the bowl, the whole family sighed. I can't persuade you at all. Zhang Xiaoxiao was lying on the bed, feeling really dizzy after being hungry for 3 days. But she knew that if she didn't persist, she would be in trouble. The third brother really went. If the third brother goes to Baidawang, he will never come back. No matter what, she couldn't just watch her third brother go like this in her whole life. So even if she really starved to death, she would change everything. That's all she can do now. Otherwise it will be too late. She can't let the third brother go down the same path of his life. She wants her third brother to live a smooth life. Although workers are not considered rich and powerful, before the reform and opening up, they were at least stable. Bang bang bang. There is a knock on the door. Fan Qiuying sighed. The girl refused to eat, and she was so anxious that her mouth blistered. Who? As soon as she opened the door, several people pushed her open and barged in like a gust of wind. Hey, what are you doing? Why did you come in so casually? What do you want to do? His dad, Shitu, come out quickly, someone is looking for trouble. Fan Qiuying didn't recognize the person at first glance. Shouted in a hurry. There are people doing evil things at this time. A young girl looked at Fan Qiuying with a confused expression. Fan Qiuying looked a little embarrassed. What's the fuss about? What are you looking at her for? The problem is that the girl in front of her seems familiar to her. But I don't know where it is. As soon as Zhang Lishi and Zhang Shitu heard the sound, they ran out immediately. Zhang Lishi was wearing a two-stranded waistcoat and holding a big cattail leaf fan in his hand. It's almost the end of the month. But the weather is still very hot. Their family cannot afford an electric fan. Of course, only cattail fans can be used. Zhang Shitu came out with a broom in his hand. He was sweeping the floor just now. God knows, he, a boy, has never done anything about their housework. Parents said that there is no preference for sons over daughters in their family. Same for men and women. Men have to do the work that women can do. So the miserable Zhang Shitu was working. Who are you, what do you want to do? Zhang Lishi is honest and kind. But he is not a soft persimmon. Whoever dares to bully him should be careful. Zhang Lao is well known in the factory for his skills. He had fought in a war before, but he was injured later, so he went to the factory to drive. A man and a woman, middle-aged, look at Zhang Lishi. The man spoke. My name is Fang Ziwen, this is my wife Yehua, this is my son Fang Piashong, and my daughter Fang Xiaomin, and this is my youngest daughter Fang Xiaowai. We are here this time for your daughter Zhang Xiaoxiao. Be open and honest. Zhang Lishi was shocked. He never expected that these people were coming for his little girl. What are you going to do? Talk about something? I am her father. If you tell me anything, I will take care of it for her. My daughter is a little willful, but not violent. Wouldn't hit anyone. Zhang Shitu was startled, and blurted out the moment he saw Fang Xiaowai. Dad, why does that woman look exactly like my mother? Zhang Lishi and Fan Qiuying immediately turned around in unison. Zhang Lishi could tell immediately that this girl and his wife looked very much alike. Fan Qiuying touched her face. No wonder I thought this girl looked familiar, she looked a lot like me. Feeling weird in my heart. A stranger looks like you. This is incredible. You can also see that Xiaowai looks almost exactly like your wife. That's because she is your daughter, and your Zhang Xiaoxiao is our biological daughter. We are her biological parents. There was a thunder in the sky. Zhang Lishi and Fan Qiuying were so shocked that they didn't understand it for a long time. What? What nonsense are you talking about? Zhanglashi is on fire. Why are you talking nonsense in our house when you go out? I tell you, don't think that you can make us wrong by bringing a girl who looks like her. We will not admit that our children are wrong. But when he saw the woman opposite who was dressed like a cotter, the more he looked at her, the more frightened he became. Looks a bit like Xiao Xiao, especially the mouth and nose. Of course it cannot be said to be similar. Just because I think about it, it feels a bit similar. The more it feels like it, the more excited my heart is. Is it true? Is their family Xiao Xiao the child of someone else's? Zhanglashi felt a pain in his heart. Fan Qiuying burst into tears. Shaking his head crazily, it's impossible. When Xiao Xiao was born, she and Zhang Laobao watched over the child for 3 days and 3 nights because she contracted pneumonia on the day she was born. The needle came out because of the baby's small movements. Zhanglashi kept holding the child's hand, and he kept holding it for as long as the liquid was being infused. I'm just afraid that my child will need to get acupuncture. Because of the penicillin infusion, the child was crying in pain. The one with the small face was crying so hard that he was out of breath. The nurse said that the liquid would be too cold and irritate the blood vessel walls, which would increase the pain, but there was no hot water bottle available. Fan Qiuying covered the infusion tube with her hand, hoping to warm the child so that the pain would be lessened. In the end, Fan Qiuying put the infusion tube in her mouth, and the child finally stopped crying and fell asleep. A 2-year-old child had a cold and a fever of 40 degrees Celsius. Zhanglashi is not at home, he is out driving somewhere. Fan Qiuying ran to the hospital with her child on her back. Watch the child alone to wake up. The first thing a little person does when he wakes up? He actually touched her eyes and said softly, "Mom, I don't feel pain anymore, and I don't have a fever anymore. Mom, don't cry." Every bit of it is their memories of being together with Xiao Xiao. They are already 18 years old, and a group of people suddenly appear and insist that their daughter is not their daughter. Fan Qiuying was angry. He snatched the broom from Zhang Shitu's hand and waved it like a soldier on the battlefield. "Get out of here, get out of here, you are talking nonsense, our little one is our biological daughter, if anyone dares to talk nonsense again, I will beat him to death, and I will tear her mouth apart. Get out of here, get out." Fan Qiuying is crazy. Hitting, kicking, and biting, they really drove the Fang family to the door. Yehua was anxious and pinched Fang Ziwen. If he didn't take this daughter back, his family Piashong would go to the countryside. If Fang Ziwei had not already made an appointment with the eldest grandson of the Song family, the 2 elders would have been happy to see their marriage come to fruition. They don't even have to come to the door. But there is nothing we can do about it. Now we are waiting for Zhang Xiaoxiao to save his life. I would like to recommend new books to my collection. Please support me. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 4. Chapter 4 Refuse to admit it. Stop, stop, what are you doing? Brother Zhang, please take care of your wife. This child was carried by the wrong child. Can you blame us? Besides, don't you know why the child was wronged in the first place? It's not that you are greedy for wealth. How could our children end up in such a family? Xiao Xiao, come out, your parents are here to find you. You come out quickly. Fang Ziwen moved with emotion and understood with reason. As long as Zhang Xiaoxiao comes out, it will be easy to handle. What does an 18-year-old child know? Seeing their decent parents, I immediately felt partial to them. I don't believe that a child born in a working-class family would be unmoved when he saw the gap between Fang Ziwei and himself. What is important is the heartbeat. Xiao Xiao, I'm my mother. 18 years ago, this couple, with their evil hearts, actually exchanged their daughter for our daughter, which is you. As a result, we recently met a nurse from the hospital and found out what happened. Go through. The couple certainly didn't expect that someone would notice when they were doing this secretly. They were cruel because they wanted their daughter to live a good life. My poor daughter, come out and see your mother, and she will take you home. Yehua said so emotionally that he was moved to tears. Fan Qiuying was anxious. Go up and tear Yehua apart. What nonsense are you talking about? What nonsense are you talking about? Who secretly changed the child? Why did we secretly change our child? I will tear your mouth open and let you talk nonsense. That is my biological child. For the first time in her life, Fan Qiuying felt that she had no words to speak clearly. How come your biological daughter became someone else's? Fan Qiuying vigorously grabbed Yehua's hair, trying to tear her mouth apart. Stop. A voice made everyone stop. Yehua, Fang Ziwen was surprised to see a little girl standing barefoot at the door of the house. They knew immediately that this was Zhang Xiaoxiao. The little girl actually doesn't look like Yehua, but her mouth and nose look a bit like Fang Ziwen. But it's not like other places either. Xiaoxiao, I'm mom. Xiaoxiao, I'm daddy. The husband and wife called in unison. Fang Ziwen really felt a little emotional when he saw his biological daughter. After all, he is a child by blood, so he cannot really be indifferent. Yehua's eyes were a bit disgusted. If such a daughter was still useful, she would not hesitate to take her back. But there is really nothing we can do about it. She wouldn't come if there was any way. This dead girl is really lucky. Even though he got pneumonia, he didn't die. Right? If his son dies, where can he find a suitable person who is willing to go to the countryside instead? Thinking of this, Yehua squeezed out a few tears and looked like a white lotus. Xiao Xiao, I am your mother, my biological mother. My child, you have suffered, and your mother has come to take you home. That sincere look makes outsiders look like she is really motherly. It simply makes those who hear it sad and those who see it shed tears. Yehua stretched out his hand and wanted to hold Zhang Xiaoxiao in his arms. Wait a minute, this aunt, you didn't run out when the south wall of Qingshan Hospital collapsed, right? A pair of hands pushed Yehua's hand away coldly. Yehua was quite embarrassed. The most famous Qingshan hospital in their area is known to everyone in the city. What kind of hospital is this? Psychiatric hospital. Why are you talking like this, kid? Mom knows that you have resentment in your heart. You feel that your mother hasn't come to you for so many years. You don't know that your mother has been hidden by this evil couple for so many years. If you hadn't met her, a kind-hearted nurse, my mother didn't even know that such a thing happened back then. Yehua wants to maintain her good image as a loving mother, so now she can only do her best to put the blame on the Zhang family and his wife. Wait a minute. Auntie, this is your one-sided statement. Besides, how can you prove that I am your daughter? Do you have any evidence to show me? Otherwise, it is empty talk. Just rely on your words, and I will become your daughter. Daughter? Go out and ask who believes it? Zhang Xiaoxiao was even more sharp-tongued. Yehua was a little confused when he said this. Shouldn't it be a tragic scene of mother and daughter recognizing each other while holding her? Why is this girl so unruly? When Fan Qiuying heard this, she immediately became energetic. It is better for the daughter to be educated, this question is to the point. Yes, show us the evidence and you'll be right, if you don't have the evidence, don't talk nonsense. Your daughter is right. Without evidence, how can you say that this is not my daughter? Yehua was anxious. He pulled Fang Ziyi over. Look. This doesn't look exactly like you. That doesn't explain the problem. This is your child. That's our child. It's only natural that I come to take my daughter away. Xiao Xiao, see for yourself, right? Fang Ziyi's face was embarrassed. Although she knew that this incident was most likely true, she still had feelings for the Fang family for so many years. Knowing her adoptive mother Yehua's plan, she would not let herself really go back to that home. But it was heartbreaking to be treated like this by my adoptive mother. My eyes were full of tears, and they were so full that they were so pitiful. Fan Qiuying hesitated. The girl in front of me does look a bit like me. How could two strangers look alike? Zhang Xiaoxiao sneered and pushed Fang Ziyawai away. Even though Fang Ziyawai looks so pitiful now, this person is not a good person. At the beginning, Yehua often gave him some advice. Most of the ideas that destroyed her and the Zhang family came from Fang Ziyawai. Fang Ziyawai is cruel. Even his biological parents, the Zhang family and his wife, ended up dying in a foreign land. Her daughter didn't care at all, let alone shed a tear, and didn't even look at it. Even the ashes of the couple were not able to return to their hometown and be laid to rest. Fang Ziyawai was capable at that time. Not only was she married into the famous Song family at that time, but she also had social status and connections, as long as Fang Ziyawai wanted. The Zhang family and his wife would not have been so miserable in the end. But Fang Ziyawai did nothing. It seems that the Zhang family and his wife have no relationship with her. In the name of the adopted daughter of the Fang family, she played the heroine of a tragic drama and won people's sympathy. But completely ignored his biological parents. Then just be clear about it and stop forcing her, the daughter of the Zhang family, in the name of a child of the Zhang family. There are so many people who look alike in this world. Is it possible that they are all related? That's what you want to say. This theory is untenable. If you don't believe me, go to our village and have a look. Then kill the pig. The daughter of Zhang's butcher's family looks exactly the same as the son of the blacksmith's family in the next village. Could it be possible that these two families are still twins? Mom, don't believe what they say, or you can provide evidence and say that I am your daughter just by touching your upper and lower lips. My biological parents are still here. Stop talking nonsense there. Zhang Xiaoxiao refused to admit it. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. There is nothing we can do in a hurry. Zhang Xiaoxiao's denial is certainly defensible. At present, there is no DNA technology in China, which means that no one can come up with effective technical means to explain who is the biological father and son of whom. This is 7 or 6 years. The underdevelopment of science and technology also has the benefits of underdevelopment. Just see if you don't admit it. Fan Qiuying also reacted immediately. Yes. It's true that the daughter of the butcher Zhang from the village where Zhang Lishi's parents live looks similar to the son of the blacksmith from the next village. They all know this here. That incident caused a big fuss. But a boy and a girl look alike, so I can't really tell. Because these two families often have lawsuits. The men and women of both families were beaten to pieces. There is no explanation either. The question is whether two children are born in one. The midwives invited by each one also had their own family members and husbands as witnesses. There is absolutely no possibility that the wrong child was carried, or that someone else's child was taken away. It is impossible for the two families to have a relationship. This incident has become a local anecdote. They heard about it too, and they even joked about it at that time. Now that I think about it, that's right. Impossible. Impossible. My daughter. How could I not know that our little one is my daughter? Leave now, or I will beat you out. Fan Qiuying waved the broom again. Zhang Lishi also went up to push people out. Get out, get out. He didn't respond just now, but now he thinks it makes sense. My daughter is right. Zhang Shitu slammed the door shut and clapped his hands. It's still weird these 2 years, everyone is there. There are actually people who come to the door to recognize their daughter. Hey, Dad didn't say that I picked her up, no matter how you identify me, it should be someone who comes to recognize your son. Zhang Shitu is a poor talker. Zhang Lishi slapped him and said, "Get out. I am troubled. This little brat doesn't even know what time it is and can talk nonsense." Fan Xiuying gasped in anger. "If they dare to come and talk nonsense again, I will beat them to death." Zhang Xiaoxiao helped her mother to the sofa. Of course she knew that her adoptive parents' love for her had never changed. Even if they knew who their real daughter was in their previous life, they were still as good to her as before. "Mom, from now on you can just call out people like this who don't know what they are called. Don't try to reason with them. Think about it, just come to your door without any evidence and say that you are their daughter. These people must have some evil intentions in their minds. Why don't you come to me and recognize a girl?" Zhang Xiaoxiao told his family directly about the couple's ulterior motives to save them from being deceived by the sweet talk of his unscrupulous parents in the future. The main reason is that they are too kind, not that they are stupid. Kind people always think that others are the same as them, but in fact, some people have always had dark eyes. Yes, why do they come to recognize their daughter? This is also what the couple can't figure out. Zhang Xiaoxiao, however, could not continue talking. If he continued to talk, it would be like he knew the details. When the day the mystery was solved, his parents would not doubt it. It is to let them discover it slowly by themselves. People outside don't stop. Yet Hua and Fang Ziwen never expected this to happen. That's not what they imagined. This is too contrary to normal thinking. Even if most people don't believe it, they still ask questions and are prepared. Bringing the most convincing witness, Fang Zai, why is it? They looked at the photos they got back and knew that Fan Xiuying and Fang Zai looked at least 80% alike. Very convincing. Although Zhang Xiaoxiao looks very similar to the two of them. But some shadows can also be found. The problem is that they were not given a chance to explain at all, and it was just a denial. People don't believe it. This is difficult to handle. Evidence. Isn't the hospital nurse a witness? The nurse said that there was a loophole in the delivery room of the hospital. It seemed that several children were placed in the wrong beds due to bathing. There is their family among them. They decided that their daughter might not be their biological child. Fang Zihui looks really different from them. There is nothing the same. If it weren't for his son Fang Piashong, he would go to the countryside soon. There is really no reason to hide away. Originally, Fang Zihui could have stepped up. But the Song family is not interested in marrying Fang Zihui. It would be strange if the Song family would be happy if they sent Fang Zihui to the countryside. The Song family is the new rich in Jiangdu. They cannot afford to offend. I also wanted to take this opportunity to bring the whole family to Jiangdu. Their family members are all well educated. If given a good opportunity, they might be able to become cotters. That's different. They can turn around. So Fang Zihui definitely can't go. The remaining Fang Xiaoman is already married and cannot go. They just remembered this cheap daughter. I brought it back just in time to help my son ward off disaster. It was like giving a pillow to my drowsiness. I didn't expect that this would be the result now. Yet Hua did not give up. Knocked the door. "Comrade Zhang, open the door. Let's talk carefully. The two families have made mistakes in the past few years. We hope to take our biological daughter back. If you have raised her all these years, we can give you a certain amount of compensation. Zihui has raised her in these years. She grew up beside us, and we won't treat her badly. You can see how you can save your worries. Comrade Zhang, we have to solve the child's matter eventually, and you can't live your whole life without facing it. If you continue to be stubborn, then we can only go to the leaders of your factory. We can only ask the organization to help us solve this matter. This is the threat of Chiguakuo. Isn't this what a group of workers are afraid of?" Yet Hua knew that they were the cotters in the factory. Naturally, he knew what to do to control Zhang Lishi's family. Go, don't talk nonsense. If you have evidence, go to the leader. Our family won't believe it. You should leave quickly, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. The leader can't let me give my biological daughter away. Hurry up and leave, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Zhang Lishi roared. You dare to scare him, but he is not scared. I can be considered as having walked through the rain of bullets back then, and I have never seen any scenes. Even though he is just a small worker. The factory director wouldn't be afraid if the discussion really came up. Can the factory director be as senior as he is? Yehua finally figured it out. This family just doesn't have enough food and salt. The trip today will definitely be in vain. The family was dejected and found a guest house. I have a letter of introduction. Otherwise they will be living on the streets tonight. Who could have imagined that such a thing would happen? Fang Piashong was anxious. As soon as he entered the guest house and put his bag away, he rushed to Yehua and Fang Ziwen's room. 3 rooms were opened. There is no way, Fang Piashong can't share a room with his sisters. Mom, what should I do? What if that Zhang Xiaoxiao doesn't want to come back? What should I do? Do you really have the heart to watch me go to the countryside to be a farmer? I won't go. He said that he is going to the countryside this time. Baidong, I heard about that place from my classmates. It's bitter, cold, and sparsely populated. The problem is that there are wolves. Mom and Dad, you really want me to go there? Fang Piashong, can you not be in a hurry? Some of his classmates went to the countryside, and that was where they went. I heard that the place was deserted and the conditions were very difficult. Don't be anxious. Let's stay here first and go there tomorrow. If there are problems that need to be solved, there's nothing you can do if you're anxious. Dear, if you pass by, leave your favorites, recommendations, and comments. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 6. Chapter 6 Wake Up. Zhang Xiaoxiao seemed to be quiet now and was about to sit down. The result was tragic. The result of not eating for 3 days. She stumbled and hit the corner of the table. Yes. Just watching himself facing the corner of the table. Then I got a headache and fainted. There were no stars in sight, nor was the sky spinning. She doesn't know anything. The blood on his forehead fell on the jade pendant on Zhang Xiaoxiao's chest. The golden light flashed and disappeared in an instant. The problem is to scare Zhang Lishi and Fan Jiuying. Zhang Lishi picked up his daughter and ran to the hospital. Fan Jiuying followed behind and gave Zhang Xiaoxiao some clothes to wear. Zhang Shita rummaged through boxes and cabinets to find money and followed him. It's free to go to the hospital. The family of 4 arrived at the hospital. Zhang Xiaoxiao woke up. It was already noon the next day. I was awakened by the bright sun. Anyone whose face is illuminated by such dazzling sunlight must wake up. As soon as you open your eyes. Are you awake? Mom, Xiaoxiao is awake. Zhang Shita's voice. Fan Jiuying's face appeared in front of them. Fan Jiuying's face was haggard after not seeing her all night, her eyes were red and bloodshot, there were blisters at the corners of her mouth, and the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes were deeper. Mom. Fan Jiuying touched Zhang Xiaoxiao's hair and did not dare to touch Zhang Xiaoxiao's wound. Fan Jiuying was frightened because blood stains could still be seen oozing out from the gauze bandage. Yesterday, my daughter fainted and hit her head. Who would have thought it would be so dangerous? Come to the hospital. The doctors said they almost couldn't save her. The 3 members of the family were all frightened, and Fan Jiuying cried to death. She kept shouting that if her daughter was gone, she would not be alive. Fan Jiuying didn't sleep all night. Today I finally saw my daughter wake up. Are you awake? How are you? Do you have a headache? It's okay. We're fine. Just wake up. You can do whatever you want from now on. Mom won't stop you. If you want to go to the countryside, just go. You can't go on a hunger strike. Look how dangerous this time is. The doctor said that it was all due to the hunger strike. Your body was too weak, so you couldn't bear the slightest touch. You scared me to death. Your dad almost pulled his hair out because he blamed himself yesterday. Fan Jiuying gently stroked her daughter's hair. Their family felt sorry for their youngest daughter, so the child really didn't suffer. Everything he eats or drinks is kept close to her. This time too, I suffered a serious crime. Looking at the wound on her forehead, Fan Jiuying was worried about leaving a scar. The injury is on the face, what if it leaves a scar? My daughter likes to be beautiful so much, so she won't have to be sad in the future. I feel so distressed. Zhang Xiaoxiao felt guilty, he still made his parents worry. This never happened in my previous life. In the last life, the third brother volunteered to go to the countryside. He was quite happy at home, so how could he go on a hunger strike? There is nothing she can do in this life. There is no reason to convince the adoptive parents to let a delicate and frail girl like her go to the countryside. What rationale can make sense? She only dared to go on a hunger strike because of her parents' love for her. But I didn't expect such a fainting. Frighten the parents. Mom, I'm fine. You can go back and rest. You and Dad must be scared and tired for such a long time. I'll be fine now that I wake up. She could feel that the injury on her forehead was not that serious. It is estimated that he should be discharged from the hospital as soon as possible and just go home to recuperate. It doesn't cost money to be hospitalized. Their family is not rich. Fan Jiuying shook her head, it's okay, my parents are not tired. What kind of tiredness is this? When your parents were working in the workshop, they were busy in the workshop for days and nights without being tired. Wherever you go, don't worry. The couple were worried that they would not be able to eat or sleep well when they went back, so they might as well stay here. Zhang Shita came over with a playful smile. Little sister, don't be so silly next time. Why are you going on a hunger strike? People don't have enough food now, and you are still on a hunger strike. If others find out, you fainted and fell down and went to the hospital because of your hunger strike. What do you think other people would say? It must mean that you, the girl, are in the midst of blessings and don't know the blessings. You are just a con artist. There is worry in his eyes. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled, with the dimples at the corners of his mouth exposed. The third brother had been very kind to her all his life. It was just a bit too miserable. What nonsense are you talking about? You don't know how to be blessed even though you are blessed. Your sister just fainted accidentally. What happened? Fainting from hunger, and hunger is not a common thing in the past 2 years. If you dare to go out and talk nonsense, be careful, I will tear you apart. Suck your mouth. Okay, let your sister take a rest. She just woke up and is not that energetic. You go to the side and sit down. Fan Jiuying viciously threatened her son and couldn't let it go out. If others found out about her nonsense, it wouldn't ruin her daughter's reputation. Zhang Shita shrank his neck and raised his thumb. She was really a mother. Fan Jiuying turned to look at her daughter with a kind face. Get some sleep, the doctor will be here soon, so sleep well. This is differential treatment. Zhang Xiaoxiao felt warm in his heart. My dear family. Mom, I have to go to the toilet and wash my face. I feel sticky, it's very uncomfortable. This is July, and the weather is so hot. The ward is not like the future, there is no air conditioning or anything like that. She was covered in sweat. Fan Xiuying wanted to stop it, but she had to go to the toilet. This girl just loves to be clean. Sigh. How would such a girl live if she really went to the countryside? Fan Xiuying felt extremely sad. If this continues, the child will suffer. He tentatively helped Zhang Xiaoxiao go to the toilet, while letting Zhang Shi to fetch water. Meet your daughter's requirements. Xiaoxiao, look at it, it won't be good to go to the countryside. The toilets won't be like this. Besides, you have to sleep in a big bunk, and it's inconvenient to take a bath or something. Have you thought about it and gone there? But there's no way to go back on it. Fan Xiuying hopes that her daughter will be obedient and stay at home. When Lao Zhang takes over his job, his daughter will be able to go. Even if you change it with someone else. Zhang Xiaoxiao shook his head. He said firmly, Mom, I'm going. Don't worry, I don't regret it. This is really tough. Fan Xiuying sighed. She had exhausted all her anger in the past 2 days. Zhang Xiaoxiao washed his face. When the water splashed on his chest, Zhang Xiaoxiao felt warm. Hot. But I didn't care. It's July now, so it's no wonder it's not hot. Must have been sweating. She lay down after cleaning up. Watching her daughter close her eyes, Fan Xiuying went to buy food. It was almost noon. My daughter must eat when she wakes up. Leave Zhang Shitu to guard here alone. Zhang Lishi still has to go to work. The work in the factory cannot be delayed. I will come to the hospital after work. Zhang Shitu was too tired to hold her in his arms and saw his sister asleep. He also fell asleep leaning on the edge of the bed. Zhang Xiaoxiao opened his eyes and touched the jade pendant around his neck out of habit. Why is it gone? Where's the jade pendant? I brought it to adulthood since I was a child. This is an heirloom of their Zhang family. Did you faint and lose it? The new book has arrived. For all the book friends who passed by, I found it to be a good read. Please keep it in your collection and recommend it. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 Discharge. Zhang Xiaoxiao felt inexplicably irritable. Then suddenly, she realized that she saw a place. Right? It's about seeing a place. I saw an open space. It was not big, only about 10 square meters. It was surrounded by fog and I couldn't see clearly. I seemed to be trapped in a place. I couldn't see my body, I just saw it. There is no sun, but I don't know why, but I can see this place very clearly and it's not dark either. But there is no light. There is a stream next to it, and a small piece of land, black and oily, looks like a vegetable patch. This is where? Zhang Xiaoxiao was confused. This is, could it be, the space in those novels? Farming can be done in space. I later read it in many online novels. There are spaces for farming and spiritual springs. This description fits that description too well. Look, there is land and water. Doesn't this mean there is a spiritual spring for farming? Did you do it yourself? This is 7 or 6 years, and even if you have money, it is not as good as having food. If you have a piece of land, you will have a lot more food. But where did these come from? Zhang Xiaoxiao pondered vaguely, he had never noticed this thing in his previous life. This is a real golden finger. Why didn't I have it in my previous life? Could it be that I didn't faint in my previous life, so I died? But space must have certain conditions. Zhang Xiaoxiao couldn't understand and didn't want to think about it anymore. Then she discovered that she should be able to see the space through her mental power, at least she couldn't feel the feeling of her body in the space. In other words, she is physically in the hospital bed, but her spirit is in space. After several experiments, she truly mastered how to operate her mental power in space. Open one's eyes. The third brother is still snoring next to her. It's almost the same as before. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at his watch. This watch is a well-known brand in the market. Looking at how much money her parents have spent, a naughty child like herself actually wears a famous brand watch. You can imagine how much her parents love her. Not even a minute seems to have passed now. No one around her noticed any movement here. Zhang Xiaoxiao lay still and closed his eyes to meditate on that space again. Then she came to space again, and it was exactly the same place, a clearing, a stream, and some unbreakable fog barriers. No one communicated with her, and there was no instruction manual or anything like that. Anyway, she just figured it out on her own. Zhang Xiaoxiao carefully searched the entire space. Indeed, the space was only 10 square meters at most. The land looked very small. However, the quality of the soil is very good, and it can be seen that it is dark. According to her experience in farming in rural areas, this kind of land should be a good land with high yields. The creek is so small that it can't even be called a creek. It feels like a dry creek. Fortunately, there was still water, so Zhang Xiaoxiao tried to take a sip. I don't feel anything except that it tastes very sweet. There is nothing else. Didn't you say Ling Quan? She remembered that in the online novels she had read, people said that drinking the Ling Quan could cure all diseases, cut off the hair, cleanse the marrow, change the body, and so on. Even bring the dead back to life. But why don't I feel it? Touch your head. The gauze is still there, press it hard. It hurts. It seems that it is not a cure-all. The stream water has no effect. Looking like this, it doesn't look like there's a lot of space to use, but generally speaking, this kind of space can be planted. I don't know if that land can be planted. Zhang Xiaoxiao suddenly had a bad feeling. Haven't you got a fake space? No other ones have been found so far. Zhang Xiaoxiao had no choice but to come out. Looked at the time. Less than a minute has passed. It seems that there is still a difference between the time in space and the time outside. I have been lingering in there for a long time, at least more than half an hour and almost an hour, but after I came out, the time was less than a minute. Perhaps this is the most surprising discovery so far, which is the advantage of time. Zhang Xiaoxiao lay still and didn't move. Where you want to go, it would actually be nice to have an extra space like this. Go back and try again. It would be a real surprise if you could grow things. In this day and age, those who lack clothing and clothing cannot buy anything even if they have money. Having a piece of land is better than anything else. Hope not to let yourself down. Zhang Xiaoxiao was discharged from the hospital in the afternoon. The doctor said it very clearly. Just go back and take good care of yourself. The opening on the head didn't even require stitches, and if nothing else happened, it probably wouldn't leave a scar. There is no need to lie down in the hospital. So Zhang Lixi, Fan Qiuying, and Zhang Shitu took Zhang Xiaoxiao home from the hospital. Take the number 11 bus. Their factory is in a remote area. After getting off the bus, they still have to walk 3 stops to get home. Passing by the vegetable market along the way, I met many acquaintances. Zhang Lixi greeted people and motioned for them to leave quickly. Mainly because people asked about the injury on Zhang Xiaoxiao's head, and they couldn't explain it. Zhang Lao is not good at lying, but he can't just tell the truth casually. Zhang Xiaoxiao breathed a sigh of relief when he returned home. Mom, I'm hungry. She is really hungry. I went on a hunger strike myself, but I didn't eat anything for 3 days. When I arrived at the hospital yesterday, the doctor also gave me some nutritious liquid, but I still felt hungry in my stomach. Fan Qiuying was very happy. You must be so hungry. Are you going to be stubborn here with mom and go on a hunger strike? What can't you tell your parents if you have anything to say? You are making fun of your own body. Go, quickly go to bed and lie down, mom. Go and have some delicious food. Looking at her daughter's pitiful appearance, Fan Xiuying's heart ached. This is a child that can be held in the palm of your hand. When I thought about it, I remembered that Fang Ziyai. There was really someone who looked exactly like me in the world. Why? I don't want to think about it anymore, my daughter is hungry. Fan Xiuying went to the kitchen and took out the flour bag in the cabinet. There are only 2 bowls of white flour left. Only corn flour and black flour are left, and the white flour is also reserved for the little girl to improve her life. The child is not in good health and they have been worried. Think about it, if this child really goes to the countryside, he won't be able to eat these white noodles. Fan Xiuying is cruel. Mix white flour into a bowl of batter, put some tomatoes in the pot and fry them until they turn red, add water, stir in the batter, beat 2 eggs, cut some spinach leaves, and have a bowl of fragrant white flour and egg soup mixed in. Put a drop of sesame oil on it after taking it out of the pan. Zhang Xiaoxiao ate a large bowl of white batter with satisfaction. My stomach felt better all of a sudden. Fan Xiuying was sweating profusely as she watched her daughter eat. I fanned her a cattail leaf fan on one side. It is now July in the Gregorian calendar, and the weather is still hot. Mom, I'm done eating, I'm going to the street to register. Zhang Xiaoxiao thinks it's better to strike while the iron is hot. Otherwise, my parents might change their minds after a while. You must not let the 3rd brother go to the countryside. The place is not friendly to the 3rd brother. She must not let the 3rd brother face his fate again. She wants her 3rd brother to live a happy and peaceful life. She cannot take over everything that belongs to the Zhang family. This time she went to the countryside for her brother. It was to go to the countryside for her brother who loved her dearly. Recommended reviews for the new book, all kinds of demands. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 8. Chapter 8 coming again. Fan Xiuying was so shocked that she almost jumped up. You naughty kid, you just want to be an educated youth. Why are you so anxious? Why are you so anxious? Your parents have already agreed and will never change their mind. Don't worry, we will wait for you for 2 days before going. It's not too late to sign up. Besides, Mom can sign you up directly when you meet Director Feng. I was also angry because the child wanted to leave them. It is true that the older the child, the more irritating it becomes. Mom, that's not what I meant, then you must sign me up. Zhang Xiaoxiao is mainly worried about changes. Fan Xiuying washed the dishes and was nagging. Tell me, why do you want to go to the countryside so much? Other people's families are eager to find 10,000 reasons not to go. It's better for you. It seems that going to the countryside to become an educated youth is a good thing. You ask me to tell you what is good about you. How come you are born with such a brain stuck in the door? Zhang Shita took Zhang Xiaoxiao back to the house. Serious? Zhang Xiaoxiao was happy. 3rd brother, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. I don't scare you. If something bad happens, it will be strange if our parents can spare you. Feeling uneasy. Did the 3rd brother see something? Xiaoxiao, tell me honestly, what's going on? Why do you have to go to the countryside? When you mentioned going to the countryside before, you were unwilling to go. Why did you change your mind now? I asked you who you are. I'm talking nonsense in front of you. Zhang Shita looked suspicious. It is true that Zhang Xiaoxiao was reluctant to go to the countryside before, but the changes now are too suspicious. 3rd brother. I am willing to go on my own, and no one has said anything to me. Besides, who can say anything to me? I just think that if you stay at home, if my father needs someone to take over for work, you are the most suitable candidate. Our dad drives. If you go, it's natural for boys to drive. If I go, I need my dad to ask my grandpa and grandma to find someone to find a way to change my job. You also know that our dad is an honest man and can't do this kind of thing. It's embarrassing for him and it's embarrassing for me. I don't want my parents to do this for me. Besides, you can still take care of the family with your parents. Your parents are not young anymore and need someone by your side. Look at me, can I take care of someone? Of course, you are not too young and it is time to start a family. You have a long way to go to find a good girl to live a good life here and take good care of your parents. Third brother, you have a long way to go. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't hide anything and what he said was very reasonable. The current society is like this. They are not children and they all know what they are facing. Whose family came here too? Zhang Shitu was startled, the expression on his face was incredible. At the same time, he felt guilty. He didn't expect his sister to think so much. He always thought that his sister was a heartless child who could do nothing but act like a spoiled child in front of her parents. I never expected that my sister would suddenly grow up overnight. I feel moved and sad. Him, the eldest brother, should have been the one protecting his sister, but now it was his sister who was thinking about him. Xiao Xiao, you just like to think wildly. Since you can take this into consideration, you will feel more at ease if you stay with the third brother. You will take good care of your parents. It is better for the third brother to go. It is a rural area and you have to do farm work. And you have to do farm work. You can't bear the suffering. Third brother is a man and is better than you. You don't need to think so much. You just need to be a little cotton padded jacket beside your parents. He is a man, he will bear it. Third brother, please save it. Do you think you can bear it if you go? There are two of us. The eldest brother should not talk about the second brother. I am a girl. The captain will at least take care of me when I go, but you are a boy. You can bear it if you go. And your careless demeanor is probably very unwelcome. When the time comes, you will have to wear some shoes, so you should stay with your parents. I made an agreement with my parents that if you dare to ruin my good deeds, I will continue the hunger strike and let my parents settle the score with you. Zhang Xiaoxiao threatened Zhang Shitu because his third brother felt sorry for her the most and he would definitely be reluctant to let her suffer. As expected, Zhang Shitu's nose was almost crooked due to Zhang Xiao's stinginess. You have learned badly now. Zhang Xiaoxiao, tell me. Who did you learn from? He pointed at Zhang Xiaoxiao's nose and asked, why is Zhang Xiaoxiao so cunning like a little fox now if he wasn't like this before? Zhang Xiaoxiao snorted and raised his mouth proudly, third brother, who am I? I still need to be taught by others. This is called self-taught. The two brothers and sister were not smiling properly. At this moment there was a knock on the door. Zhang Shitu glanced at the clock on the wall. His dad hasn't gotten off work yet. Mom went to get the cardboard box. In order to supplement the family income, my mother was reluctant to take a break, so she received matchboxes from a street processing factory and specialized in gluing matchboxes. I guess Fan Jiuying is back. Zhang Shitu rushed out and opened the door. They lived in a bungalow. It is not a residential building. The main reason is that his father is a driver of a transportation team and her mother is also an ordinary worker. Considering their qualifications, it is good for their family to be allocated this small bungalow. That kind of building is equipped with cotters. It has nothing to do with them. Bungalows also have the benefits of bungalows. There are 3 rooms in the house and a large yard. Plant some flowers and grass, and also grow vegetables, so it's relatively comfortable. It would have been a bit crowded when the 2 older sisters were here, but since the eldest sister jumped in line and left, and the second sister got married, their family has been living in a much better place. As soon as I opened the door, I saw someone I didn't want to see. Why are you here again? It's endless, right? I told you that my sister has nothing to do with your family, so leave immediately. I want to close the door with a bang. He was suddenly blocked by Fang Ziyi. Zhang Shitu cannot be cruel, nor can he close the door. What do you want to do? Yehua smiled and said gently, I want to see Xiao Xiao, and I want to have a good talk with her. Young man, I know your parents are not here, so don't rush to deny it. Poor parents in the world, please understand our feelings. Child, let's meet the child and say a few words. Child, let us see the child and just talk for a little while. We don't know clearly and feel uncomfortable. Child, don't you want to know whether your sister is your sister? Fang Ziwen hurriedly came up to persuade him. Only 3 people came today. Looks like a roundabout tactic was adopted. Zhang Shitu hesitated, what was really puzzling him? But if the sister is not his sister, how can it be okay? Immediately his expression became determined. One hand was blocking the door frame, motionless as a mountain. You guys leave quickly. Don't talk nonsense here, I don't have that much sympathy. This is my sister, my biological sister. I watched her grow up, she can't be your child. Leave now. Otherwise I can. If you call someone, it will be you who will be embarrassed. Zhang Shitu couldn't let others deceive his sister. In case one is not careful. My sister was cheated. There was no place for him to cry. New books are in their seedling stage and need everyone's care. Please start collecting and recommending them. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 9. Chapter 9 $500. Third brother. Zhang Xiaoxiao walked out. The Fang family is not giving up yet. Of course I don't give up because she still has value. Xiaoxiao, I'm mom. Xiaoxiao, listen to me. I am really your mother, see for yourself. Your eyes and nose are exactly the same as mine, you are my daughter. My child, you have to believe me, I am really your mother. Yehua was anxious, this could not continue to be delayed. They can't stay here forever. Besides, my son can't wait any longer. The neighborhood committee and the streets are urging me to leave in September. There is no fixed number of people to come here now, and people from the neighborhood committee come to look for them every day. Can't wait no matter what. I'm sorry, Auntie, I really don't want to listen to your nonsense. You said it was my mother, but you couldn't provide any evidence. It's very difficult for me to do this. It's impossible for a random stranger to come by and tell me they are my parents and I'll just admit it. That would be chaos. Go now, you must be mistaken, I am not your daughter. The third brother closed the door. Zhang Xiaoxiao would never admit it. It is impossible to recognize him even if he is beaten to death. Go find evidence if you can. Yehua was really furious. Is the evidence so easy to obtain? But they did find a piece of evidence. Nurse Li, come here. Zhang Xiaoxiao raised his head. Okay. This nurse really came out. Nurse Li. It was the nurse who carried her and Fang Ziyi by mistake. I was a trainee nurse at first, and now I am a middle-aged woman who is almost 40 years old. She also met this Nurse Li in her previous life. Of course, in order to shirk responsibility, Nurse Li described her as weak and helpless, and described her adoptive parents as having ulterior motives and being extremely evil. It is because of this woman that she has no doubts about her life experience. It was because of this that she suffered all the hardships she suffered later. Nurse Li. Tell me, what's going on? Xiao Xiao. This is the nurse in the delivery room of the hospital. Nurse Li, please tell our family Xiao Xiao what's going on, otherwise she will be deceived. You know what's going on. Yehua anxiously pulled Nurse Li over. She was so anxious that she was about to go to bed. You are so small, I didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, the child who was so small at the beginning would grow up to be so big now. Nurse Li is more knowledgeable than Yehua. If people say this, it will ease the atmosphere and win people's favor. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled and said, Nurse Li. What's going on? Yehua winked at Nurse Li. Nurse Li pulled Xiaoxiao. This child looks really good. Your name is Xiaoxiao. That's right. 20 years ago, I was a trainee nurse in the county hospital. At that time, I was not qualified to handle patients alone. I just followed the chief doctor and did odd jobs. That winter, the hospital came to 2 mothers. That winter, there were many people in the delivery room. They were all employees of nearby steel plants, but I remember a couple particularly clearly. That is Zhang Lixi and Fan Xiuying. Because at that time, not many women went to the hospital to give birth. Fan Xiuying was bleeding heavily at that time, and it took the doctor several days to save her. I remember it very clearly. They gave birth to a girl, and she and Comrade Yehua lived in the same delivery room. Comrade Yehua also gave birth to a girl. The 2 of them gave birth to a child together, but then one day, I'm on duty in the nursery. Then I realized that Zhang Lixi actually picked up a child next to him. They exchanged the burden of their children with other people's children. I was so scared that I didn't know what to do. But before I could react, Zhang Lixi left. I dare not say. I want to say it out, but Zhang honestly refuses to admit it. What evidence do I have? I kept tossing and turning in my mind and couldn't sleep. Later, I wanted to tell Comrade Yehua that their child had been replaced by someone else. But before I could say anything, Zhang Lixi and the others had already left, so what else could I say? I didn't expect that after so many years, I would meet Comrade Yehua and her daughter again. My conscience found out that I couldn't hold it back anymore, so I still told the story. Otherwise I would really have trouble sleeping and eating. Xiaoxiao, you are Comrade Yehua's child, his biological daughter. It was Zhang Lixi and his wife who deliberately wanted to switch things over, which made you and your parents separated for so many years. It was my cowardice that harmed your 2 children. Nurse Li cried with emotion. Zhang Xiaoxiao remained motionless. Yehua looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao and was probably frightened. Hurrying forward, he wanted to hug Zhang Xiaoxiao. Let's have a scene where mother and daughter recognize each other, hold their heads and cry. This is so real. This is a scene where mother and daughter recognize each other. It also moved Zhang Xiaoxiao. The dust is finally settling. As a result, the hand suddenly failed. Seeing Zhang Xiaoxiao looking at Nurse Li seriously, she asked, Nurse Li, since you saw Zhang Lixi changing the baby privately, you didn't stop it? You are derelict in your duties. Besides, you said Zhang Lixi changed the baby immediately. The couple returned home from the hospital. Did you see this with your own eyes? Nurse Li was stunned. The little girl's reaction was so different. Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. Xiaoxiao, you can't believe them, they are lying to you. Our dad is not that kind of person, and there is absolutely no way he would do such a thing. Zhang Shitu was anxious. There was no excuse for being slapped with such a hat. Zhang Shitu was afraid that his sister would believe him. He believed that his parents were definitely not that kind of people. Third brother, don't worry. I still don't know who our parents are. I just want to ask clearly to avoid being labeled as unreasonable. Zhang Xiaoxiao's words immediately put Zhang Shitu at ease. As long as my sister is not deceived by these people, it will be fine. Yehua was surprised. Xiaoxiao, how can you still not believe it? I am your biological mother. Why should I lie to you? What good does it do me to recognize other people's children as my children? Xiaoxiao, how could you be so heartless? I am your mother. Zhang Xiaoxiao still doesn't believe it. She didn't expect it. Nurse Li also said hurriedly, Xiaoxiao. Everything I said is the truth, why should I lie to you? Lying to you will do me no good. There's no benefit in lying to me. I think it's a big benefit. Nurse Lee, don't you feel panicked when you take the 500 yuan they gave you? You framed this matter to a pair of honest people without conscience. Man, doesn't your conscience hurt? Of course you won't feel any pain, you love money as much as your life. What is conscience? Nurse Lee suddenly sat down on the ground. He was so frightened that his face turned pale. Pointing at Zhang Xiaoxiao, you. How do you know? Turning his head to look at Yehua, didn't you say you would never tell anyone about this matter? Are you breaking your promise? Yehua. You killed me. Yehua hesitated, she didn't say it, she really didn't tell anyone else. How does this girl know that she gave Nurse Lee 500 yuan? It's definitely not deceiving. It's impossible for me to be so accurate. This is how to do. New books, please recommend and comment for collection. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 10. Chapter 10 Growing Up. Nurse Lee, go back to where you came from. Don't come out to harm others again. My parents can't be that kind of people. Zhang Xiaoxiao turned to look at Yehua, these two. I don't know why you two insist on recognizing me as your daughter. But the evidence is not sufficient now. Nurse Lee herself admitted that she charged you 500 yuan, her words are not trustworthy, don't disturb our lives in the future, otherwise don't blame me for turning against others. Even if we go to the police station, I'm afraid you can't tell clearly, right? You all look like human beings. If you really go to the police station, think about it, will your jobs be lost? Don't struggle pointlessly, we have nothing to do with each other. Yehua and Fang Ziwen left in despair. The two of them still couldn't figure it out. She is obviously their daughter, why can't she recognize her? What is the truth? The Fang family went back. The main reason is that they cannot afford to delay. You have to ask for leave when you go out, and you won't go back after the time has passed. Will be notified and criticized. They can only think of other ways. It's a pity that no matter what the method is, it doesn't work now. Zhang Xiaoxiao drove the people away. Close the door and lock it. Zhang Shita looked at his sister with admiration on his face. Sister, how do you know that the nurse charged me 500 yuan? My sister is so awesome, just these few words can solve everything. I'm covered. Zhang Xiaoxiao went back to the house. She decided to sign up tomorrow and implement it as early as possible because the Fang family in the province was still making a fuss. Of course she knew that at the end of her last life, she heard the conversation between Nurse Lee and Yehua. This Nurse Lee is Yehua's classmate. To put it bluntly, she doesn't know whether Nurse Lee was the nurse who delivered the baby back then. I just knew that Nurse Lee asked Yehua for 500 yuan. There shouldn't be any mistakes this time either. As a result, when she cheated, the other party exposed her secret. Zhang Xiaoxiao went to the street the next day. Honorably, I took my household registration book and signed up to go to the countryside. Director Li on the street looked strange and asked Zhang Xiaoxiao several times whether he had made a mistake. Zhang Lishi and his wife made this girl tear their eyes out from pain. Let the little girl go to the countryside? Xiaoxiao, did you come here without telling your parents? Zhang Xiaoxiao was so happy, look what her parents doted on her. Director Li, my parents know. I have done their job, and they have agreed for me to go to the countryside and let my brother stay. Don't worry. I will definitely not cause you any trouble. If you don't believe it, you will meet me. Ask your parents. Zhang Xiaoxiao raised his hand, took his household registration book and ran away. Director Li sighed. Educated youths go to the countryside, and it's hard to find a job anywhere. Zhang Lishi and Fan Xiuying knew that their daughter was determined to go to the countryside, so they had no choice but to give up completely. Zhang Xiaoxiao started to prepare things for going to the countryside, so he had to take his luggage with him. And clothes and stuff. There is no need to bring other things. Mainly because I can't take it with me. She doesn't need to worry about her parents preparing these things. Zhang Xiaoxiao also brought some high school books. If she remembers correctly, the college entrance examination will be resumed in a year. Then is the best time. I didn't encourage the third brother to prepare. It's because his third brother is really not that good. It's better to drive a car. Let alone the eldest sister and the second sister. However, she will send a letter to the eldest sister to remind her that if the eldest sister takes it to heart, it might be an opportunity to leave the countryside. You don't need to be manipulated by others. Don't even think about the second sister's words. Her second sister has graduated from elementary school and it is really unrealistic to take the university entrance examination. Zhang Xiaoxiao wanted to find some seeds to try. Can I grow things in my own space? She has already tried it. Putting books and other things in it can indeed help, at least it can reduce her burden. Others have not been figured out yet. She was going to the market to see if she could find seeds or something to try. But I didn't wait for her to go out. Someone is coming to the house. Her grandmother is here. The old man in their family left early. There are 3 brothers and 2 sisters in my father's family, all of whom were raised by the old lady. The 5 children are filial to the old lady. However, the old lady has a hot temper, coupled with her shallow knowledge, she only cares about the petty gains in front of her, and she is also biased. Who is it? Definitely not my father. Her father doesn't know how to say nice things, nor is he good at pleasing others, nor is he good at managing relationships. Like the boss at the gate of the mansion. The old lady likes to be supported by others. So, mother and son are not close. The old lady likes her uncle the most. I also prefer the uncle's house. Of course, I always think of my uncle's family whenever I have any good things. The uncle's home is in the west city, and theirs is in the east city. The distance between this east and the west is long and inconvenient. Generally you can't see them face to face. Unless Zhang Lishi drives by or goes to see the old lady. The old lady never comes to the door. Taking a bus all this way requires several trips. This time it was really unexpected. As soon as the old lady entered the door, she glanced out of the corner of her eye and saw Zhang Xiaoxiao. Where are your parents? They don't know how to say hello when they see people, they all have the same virtues as the boss. Zhang Xiaoxiao hurriedly asked the old lady to sit down and handed her a cattail leaf fan. Milk. My dad went to work and left the car today and won't come back until tonight. My mom went to deliver matchboxes. She'll be back in a while. Sit down and I'll get you a bowl of water. It's such a hot day. Why do you come all the way here? If something happens, please call my dad and ask him to come over. It will be more convenient if my dad drives by. Why do you need to make a trip? Of course Zhang Xiaoxiao has a good attitude towards the old lady, because he doesn't think the old lady is partial. But the old lady is not a bad person. 10 fingers are both long and short, so don't talk about the human heart. Eccentricity has existed since ancient times. You can't just beat everyone to death with a stick and assume that they are all hostile elements just because the person who is partial is not your father. This won't work. She knew that in her previous life, when she encountered difficulties, her children were sick, and she had to borrow money from everywhere. Don't look at the old lady's vicious face when she saw her. Hate herself for killing her son and his family, but the old lady still gave her 500 yuan in the end. The old lady has no income, so it will take a long time to save 500 yuan. Just for this reason, Zhang Xiaoxiao felt that he should be nicer to the old lady. Small favor is also a favor. What's more, the old lady was the one who came to the rescue at that time. Hurry up, I'm dying of thirst. It's free to make a call. I walked up here by myself. I didn't take the bus. The bus is so expensive. Children, every family must learn to live a prudent life. Otherwise, you will be crying behind me. The old lady started preaching again. Zhang Xiaoxiao agreed with a smile and gave the old lady half cold water and half boiled water. Just warm water and a little orange powder. This is her father's summer benefit. The benefits in Dad's factory are quite good. Furthermore, her father's fleet was merged with the steel factory. Even after the reform, a large number of state-owned enterprises went bankrupt, but the steel factory was revitalized and became a well-known large enterprise in the country. So there are only advantages and no disadvantages to third brother going. Grandma, drink water, drink the orange-pink water, it's sweet and sour. The old lady glanced at Zhang Xiaoxiao unexpectedly. This child used to be either dull or arrogant. She shed tears at every turn, just like a little white flower who was bullied. The old lady always disliked this kind of girl with vixen potential. Unexpectedly, things suddenly changed today. I haven't seen him in a year. Maybe this child has grown up. Collect it, the new book will be thinner, but I still want to thank you all for your support. End of this chapter.